Springfield Talk 1041. Hello, welcome everyone. Good Thursday. My name is Nick Reed. As I watch so many of these Democrats continue to root for the failure of the war in Iran, the failure of the U.S. And in fact, some of the No Kings protests that are going to be taking place. Is that this weekend? The No Kings? I think it is. I know I've got a story about it.
Get your little button.
Yep, get your little button.
I
And
saw the Democrats were promoting those.
well, oh, sure, of course. Part of, according to a number of the news stories, is defending the current anti-woman, anti-LGBT regime against the attacks and protesting against the liberation of women and the LGBT community in Iran because, the left, classy folk that they are, seemingly always on the side of terrorists and dictators, and they're once again going to demonstrate that while gaslighting everyone by protesting under the banner of No Kings. They don't like kings, they don't like dictators, yet every time one of them, particularly at the hands of Donald Trump, loses his power, they come out in full force to defend not the decision to take out the dictator or the king, but against doing so. So, as I listen to a number of these Democrats increasingly cheer for Iran and openly claim that when it comes to whether or not people trust the terrorist running Iran or the president of the United States, that they trust personally the terrorist running Iran. And it just really reminds me why it is that the Iranians wanted Joe Biden to win the presidency. I think we forget that. Listen, this was during the Biden administration that intelligence had to acknowledge that Iran was attempting to interfere in our elections in order to get Joe Biden reelected so that Democrats could continue to be in charge. It really makes sense now. Of course, going even further back, we also know, we knew this back before Joe Biden was tapped to be well before he was running for president, and that was towards the tail end of the Obama administration, part of bin Laden's ultimate plans to take down the country after 9/11 failed to do so was to make Joe Biden president. Yeah, you can look this up. At the time this information was revealed, it was reported by the mainstream media. But again, it was reported during a period of time Obama was on his way out. Joe Biden was believed to be finished with his political career, so the media didn't have any reason to cover for him. And the intelligence community had revealed that while sifting through materials, they had captured letters from bin Laden to his top generals scattered about the world, and his instructions to assassinate a number of people in the Obama administration, including Obama himself, that Biden was to be left untouched because the plan was for Biden to become president of the United States. Bin Laden believing that he would do greater damage to this country than the 9/11 terrorist attacks were able to do, and the hopes, of course, of bin Laden and the terrorist network was that Biden would just completely bring the country to its knees and destroy it totally. And you think that would be a bit of a wake-up call to Democrats? When the top and sadly most effective terrorists in the world are actively, continuously attempting to make sure you and your party and your people are in power, what does that tell you? What does that tell all of us? That while they are attempting to eliminate people like Donald Trump, they are also at the same time attempting to get into power people like Joe Biden. Specifically Joe Biden. And when we watch this play out and you watch Democrats coming to the defense of these terrorist organizations, it really makes it all click. And it's like, oh, gee whiz. I guess it makes sense now that now we know why countries like Iran were trying to rig our elections so Trump didn't win, but instead the Democrats did. Coming up on Sunday, and I know if you listen to the station, you have heard announcements regarding this. It's going to be the roll call for the fallen and injured. And, of course, we've had Heather Davis on the program talking about this just a few weeks ago as part of the ongoing effort to raise dollars for Christian County officers that were injured or lost their lives just still weeks ago, and fundraising for them and their families. And this is a larger event that has been in the works for several weeks now. Chaz, who's owner of B29s, just on the other side of the little lot there, if you will, from Vineyard Market, has, of course, been very instrumental in this, as has Luke and Heather Davis. And, in fact, it's gotten so big early on, it was recognized that it was going to have to move south to the Ozarks Mountain Sports Complex, which isn't far at all. If instead of turning left, as if you were going to go at that intersection there off JJ, left to B29s or Vineyard Market, you go right past Lambert's and you go just a ways down that road, and eventually you'll hit that complex. So that's where the event is going to be. It's going to be from noon till 4 on Sunday. We're going to be out there doing the show live for an hour of that. There's going to be a lot of folks on hand, and they're hoping to raise quite a bit of dollars. There's a tremendous amount of different auction items that are going to be available. Some of them that they have talked about, a gold-plated Italian rifle, a $3,500 pair of earrings, a Humvee donated. That's just to give you a sense of some of the larger items. And there will be silent auction items as well, and food and music, I believe, entertainment of sorts. And so that event is going to be taking place on Sunday from noon to 4 at the Ozark Mountain Sports Complex, and it's again called the Roll Call for the Fallen and Injured, if you want to swing by. And as I mentioned, we'll be doing the show out there for at least an hour of that event. Tomorrow, we do have Heroes Breakfast. That is going to be at Scramblers, the Friday Road Show from 6 to 9. If you're a veteran, come out and get yourself free breakfast. Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, Warrior's Journey, and Scramblers all making that possible. Thursday, we got a great author of the week today also. Christy Fulnecki will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 4 a.m. Otherwise cloudy with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid-morning, and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61.
There has been a bit of an overshadowing because of the war with Iran of what's been going on in Ukraine. And it's just really been interesting to watch all of these left-wingers, these no kings people that for the longest time virtue signaled by really cheerleading what was going on in Ukraine until Zelensky started talking favorably about Trump, and NATO began saying, hey, Trump's the only one that can win this thing, get it finished, get it wrapped up, win for everybody by getting the killing to stop. And once everyone directly involved was signaling that Donald Trump really is going to be the answer to all of this, suddenly they cared not any longer for Ukraine. And it's because the subject matter was one to people who paid attention that looked favorable for Donald Trump and his leadership. And it was a recognition that world leaders saw him as the answer to so many problems. And in fact, many of them said Trump is the only one. I mean, this became very common verbiage. Trump is the only one who, if anybody can solve this problem, can solve this problem. And so suddenly those people who cared so much about Ukraine on the left, and I suspect that you probably won't see quite as many Ukrainian flags at the No Kings event that is upcoming as there used to be. And if so, it's probably somebody just didn't even know what the Ukrainian flag was anyhow, just was told, here, you're supposed to wave this as a left-winger, is blissfully unaware of the entire landscape, and so maybe doesn't know that that's out of vogue, but it's just, I think we've all recognized and seen the lack of care that the left now has for Ukraine. And if you are one of these people, you really need to ask yourself why that is. Why it is that you so easily get jerked from one cause that is the greatest morality and humanitarian cause ever, and then with the snap of a finger, you are dragged onto another one. And if you think you're not dragged over to it, that you're just magically coming up with this on your own, along with all of your other left-wing compatriots across the country, you just coincidentally all determined that one cause was no longer important and the other one was, and nobody's directing that, then you've got some real serious psychological problems. Of course, in the midst of what was going on with Ukraine, everything that Zelensky did was wonderful, and anything and everything that Putin did was awful, and you were not allowed to deviate from that. You weren't even allowed to say, hey, should we really be giving blank checks to Zelensky? I mean, hey, all for the cause and yeah, defender of democracy and all that stuff, but it is our money. Maybe we ought to just have some accounting for it. And what did the Democrats always say? It was always the same. You're a puppet of Putin for asking such. How dare you ask these questions? Don't you understand? Zelensky is defending the world. He is the great defender of democracy for the globe at this moment. Do not ask where that money's going. And a lot of people believe there was a good chance that some of the money, wasn't going exactly where it should have been going. And incidentally, some who had concerns of that weren't not necessarily assigning nefarious intent, but when you're talking about war and that much money getting shifted around, it's really easy for it to at times end up where it should not necessarily be. But oftentimes, it does get siphoned off for nefarious purposes. But the Biden administration was very clear. You ask question 0. There's new information out that is indicating, in fact, there was a great deal of specifically American tax dollars that the Biden administration was funneling to Ukraine after the war started, that to the tune of millions and millions and millions of those dollars were being diverted off to something other than the war efforts of Ukraine. It turns out that the plan was for those millions and millions of dollars to be rerouted to Joe Biden's reelection campaign. Solomon reporting for Just the News. U.S. intelligence intercepted Ukrainian government communications discussing a plot to route hundreds of millions of American dollars earmarked for, quote, clean energy in the war-torn country and move them back to the United States to enrich then-President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election campaign and the Democratic National Committee, according to a declassified intelligence report summarizing the intercepts that were obtained by Just the News. Gee whiz. It almost makes sense now why Joe Biden was more than willing every single time there was an ask for our tax dollars to go to Ukraine, given that the tune of hundreds of millions was supposed to come right back to his re-election campaign. You know, this is all in the name of democracy. This is part of the defending democracy movement that we were watching at play in Ukraine. Interfering. I'm sorry, would this not be a foreign country interfering in our presidential elections? Best I know, Putin was never even accused of funneling hundreds of millions of dollars to Donald Trump's campaign. According to the Biden administration at the time, there were, 4 or 7 Russians who bought a couple $100 worth of ads on Facebook. That was the extent of the, quote, interference in our elections. Merrick Garland held a huge press conference about it. We were indicting these Russians because they were purchasing ads on Facebook. Meanwhile, Zelensky is presiding over a plan to funnel hundreds of millions of dollars to Joe Biden's re-election campaign. Now, incidentally, this is all intelligence that was gathered during the Biden administration. And lo and behold, the intelligence officials who discovered this information found that there was a real lack of interest by higher-ups to investigate it further. Isn't that just shocking? We're going to take a break and share some of the details of it coming up here. The Pyramid Roofing Company text line is 447-KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Declassified intelligence reports have revealed that while the Biden administration was funneling all of that tax dollar money to Ukraine, there was a plan underway for hundreds of millions of it to come right back to the Joe Biden reelection campaign. And when this was discovered by those in the intelligence community, they found that there was a real lack of interest by the higher-ups to actually investigate this. Gee, I wonder why. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard recently learned of the intercepts that came during the Biden administration and has asked the U.S. Agency for International Development officials to scour for records to see if the plot actually was carried out and whether a criminal referral should be made to the FBI. Gabbard's team has not found substantive evidence that intercepted allegations were thoroughly investigated during the Biden administration, and the communications are not believed to be tied to Russian disinformation, according to the intelligence. The declassified report is a summary of raw intercepts from U.S. spy agencies in late 2022 concerning the alleged plot, and officials who have reviewed the files say that there seemed to be a lack of curiosity to investigate such an explosive allegation of foreign interference in the U.S. government. Now, again, this isn't intelligence made up by Tulsi Gabbard. This is intelligence that was developed during the Biden administration. It's just apparently she's learning of it. The declassified summary of the intercept stated that the Ukrainian government and unspecified U.S. government personnel through U.S. aid in Kiev, reportedly developed a plan that would provide hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund an infrastructure project for Ukraine that would be used as a cover to send approximately 90% of the funds allocated to the DNC to fund Joe Biden's reelection campaign. Well, it kind of also brings into focus part of the reason Democrats were so appalled at the idea of cutting off U.S. aid or aid to U.S. aid. Remember that whole Doge fight? The report added they were confident the project would be funded initially, even though at some time in the future the project would be disapproved as unnecessary. At the time, the money would already be allocated and impossible to return for use for a different purpose. So they fully knew that in all likelihood, this, quote, project that was approved for the hundreds of millions of dollars would eventually be denied, but the plan was to push it through and get it back to the Democrats so fast that they would not be able to undo it. They wouldn't be able to claw it back. The declassified summary stated the plan included details of how subcontractors would be funded through U.S. companies so that how the funds were spent and allocated would be difficult to track. Additionally, contracts would be executed that would be difficult to verify. In this manner, most of the U.S. funding would be diverted to Joe Biden's election campaign without the ability to track where exactly the funds come from. Now, these people should be in prison. Whomever these individuals in the U.S. were that were responsible for it, they should be in prison. The level of straight-up crime that Democrats continue to get caught being involved in, it has gotten to the point, I guess it goes without saying, that this is the party of absolute total corruption and crime. Not a party that houses some individuals or that is even a majority driven by immorality and criminality. It is a party of, just as much as the mafia was an institution of crime, so is the Democrat Party. The discovery of the 2022 efforts by Ukraine to help Biden's 2024 campaign comes at a sensitive time for President Zelensky, who, of course, has been trying to work closely with Trump. So you can obviously imagine that conversation. Zelensky's like, "Yay, you got to understand, right? You get it." We'll get the piece posted. It goes into details about the implications of this in terms of, things that are playing out now. One of the other aspects of this that I find to be very interesting is the way that it was going to funnel the money to make it, quote, hard to track, and how similar that mode of corruption and delivering money is to the way that Biden and his family were enriching themselves with these LLCs, these different companies. And so you'd get some oligarch from some other country, and then they would pay this entity over here, and then they would put direct deposit into this account over here that would then transfer over to Joe Biden's granddaughter's account. It's interesting that this criminal plot to take U.S. tax dollars, funnel it to Zelensky, who would then send 90% of it back to the DNC for the purposes of helping Joe Biden get reelected, is so apparently similar, at least on the surface, to the way that Joe Biden was enriching himself financially. I'm sure that it's all a coincidence, and if this gets any attention, which I'm sure it will not, we will be told by Democrats that this isn't, quote, proof of anything.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozark's first meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms mainly after 4 a.m. Otherwise cloudy with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid-morning and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61.
Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoors. Landscape design, patio pavers, retaining walls. I'm just sort of bullet pointing some of what they do for you because I oftentimes tell you about our outdoor living space, and that might give folks the impression that just this sort of one area of focus when they do so much more, like new lawn installations. Totally new lawn and the landscape design itself. I know that is our plan, that we are going to be doing our next project with Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor is the landscape design. And it for me anyhow, in my mind, what I envision, it's more than, you go buy plants and put them, but sometimes there's the soil. Is it the right soil for it? Is it the right amount of shade? Is the drainage right for that? Just even the aesthetics of how things look. I know that I don't necessarily know the best way to do it, whereas the experts with Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor, that this is what they do, along with seasonal cleanup and landscape maintenance as well. Maybe you have properties and yeah, you've done that before. You're like, oh, it's all brand spanking new and it looks fantastic and great. And then after 6 months, you haven't kept up on it and you're like, oh, it really lost its shine. So the landscaping maintenance is part of what they can provide as a service as well. And it's not just residential, business. In fact, on their before and after area of hunterhardscapes.com, there's sort of what I call the welcome sign and surrounding hardscaping and landscaping for a town. A lot of times you see those and maybe you're just needing to have something like that done as well outside of the residential, whether it's governmental or commercial property, or you have a multi-housing unit, whatever it may be, restaurant, you name it. They can get it set up for you. They are the absolute best. You're going to get the best. hunterhardscapes.com. The travel lines have gotten much smaller since the Trump administration decided to send in ICE agents to take some of the stress off of the TSA agents. And in some of these airports, it's gone from 5-hour lines to 10-minute lines. It's been a huge success, which is insane given that it's government. I was thinking to myself, any other administration, if there had been this sort of plan, I can imagine it would have taken 6 months to get it underway. And I'm not exaggerating. Perhaps even longer than that. Because there'd be a decision to do it, and then, okay, well, we've got to have a committee to get together and see what that looks like. And then we got to dispatch and okay, we got to give 3 months for all of the different, regions to get ready and prepared and to come up with a plan on what this is going to look like. And then we're going to have a run through. We'll test it at one for, it's just the way government works. Trump, this goes from an idea on a Friday or Saturday to Monday being implemented, Monday or Tuesday. Trump's like, no, just do it. Get it done. There's so much focus on the ideas themselves oftentimes and the effectiveness. And then, of course, people on the left, they don't want success, which is just insane. And they want failure. They want us all to be miserable. They want Americans to feel as if choosing anyone but them was a mistake. And so they're going to do everything they can to make sure life is miserable for us. And when it isn't, when it gets better, they're going to try and tell you that it's not. It's actually worse. And that, of course, is, we're watching that with this decision. But what gets lost in that is just a demonstration of how it doesn't have to be so ineffective and inefficient when it comes to government at times. Sometimes the very nature of government, it's going to be problematic. There are certain things government absolutely should not be involved in. And largely because of the culture of government. It's just right now we're in a very odd time. We have this anomaly in which Donald Trump's mindset is not the mindset of the traditional person in government, particularly the person who's been in government their whole lives. And by the way, this is not just a Democrat thing. This is a Republican thing as well. You get a Republican president, and, they're, well, now this is going to take a while. You got to understand, okay, well, write up a report and come back to me, and we're going to appoint a point person. We're going to have a press conference announcing this, and our goal is 6 months down the road to have everything operate. Trump is like, no, just get it done. I want this up and rolling by Tuesday. And he has picked people this time around that say, done. And they get it done. And the first year of this administration was filled with a lot of, department heads and middle-level people that, pitched a fit. They were anti-Trump people, or they were just of that mindset. Well, now you can't do it that way. You got to understand. We got this and we got that. But Trump has enough people high up at this point and over, this year plus of his administration that say, no, we're just going to get it done, that attitude is trickling down to the point that you can have effectively within just 2 or 3 days what would normally be 6 months to a year in terms of getting it unrolled and effectively in place, gets it done with just a couple days. Regardless of what person gets elected after Donald Trump, even if it's someone that I'm exceedingly pleased with, I suspect that the days of something in terms of that massive of a change will ever happen with such expediency again. Donald Trump just has a way, because he just doesn't, just do it. Just get it done. And if you don't, then I'll find someone who can. We're finally at the same time seeing and hearing reactions from people that are impacted, aside from travelers, but pilots and Delta Airlines, like, you know what, we're ripping all congressional benefits. Apparently, there's some, if you're a member of Congress, Delta Airlines had some sort of, VIP service they provided you, I'm guessing, get you front of the line and kind of pamper you a little bit. And they're like, you know what? We're taking this away until this is over. And it gets really celebrated. But I have some concerns about how it is some of these airlines and some of the upset passengers are responding to this. And I do want to address it. And this includes this idea that comes up every time government finds itself sort of locked in this place of not funding something, and that is a call that members of Congress should not receive pay while things like this occur. And this is, while on the surface sounds like a great idea, this is a very, very, very bad idea. It's not one that I worry will ever actually occur. But I want to explain why that is not a good idea as well. Coming up, the Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. There's a story, this is Fox News story. Travelers describe hours-long TSA lines at major airport amid staffing shortages. Of course, much of that, again, has been drastically relieved, and in some airports completely alleviated because Trump's stepping in and utilizing ICE in order to assist TSA where they need it. And there was a comment here in the story by Kenneth Haney, a recently retired United Airlines pilot, said he arrived 6 hours early for his flight to Raleigh, North Carolina. Quote, "I just retired a year and a half ago. I've never seen it like this before, even as a pilot. Our politicians, get yourself together and do the work of the people that we put you in office to do, and stop bickering and come together for the American people and help us alleviate these unnecessary long lines." And then you see airlines like Delta that apparently offered some sort of just additional customer service to members of Congress. And they're saying, you know what, we're not doing that while this is going on. And while I get this sentiment, the problem that I have with it is it isn't identifying the problem. While there are times that, quote, Congress is the problem, right now it isn't Congress. It is the Democrat Party, specifically in the Senate. They are the problem. They are the one. This has come up for a vote over and over and over again. And Democrats have blocked it over and over and over again. And by simply blaming everyone, by making it, couching it as a, quote, Congress problem, that benefits the Democrats. Because who's in control of Congress right now? Republicans are in control of Congress. So by, whether it's Delta Airlines saying, well, we're going to punish all members of Congress, or some pilot saying, or just the average American attitude that sometimes you see that, well, they need to stop bickering. They need to get together. Well, okay, yeah, that's fine. But the problem is the one side won't. They aren't doing it. This has come up for a vote over and over and over again. And so the people who are causing the problem, you are giving them an assist by not calling them out and instead just calling all of Congress out, because they see that as a benefit to them politically, since they aren't the ones in control of Congress. And I understand a lot of people don't necessarily know this, or even those that do, if they're a business or an airline and they're frustrated and they want to call it out, they don't want to look like they're being, quote, partisan, but they're playing into the hands of the people. They are giving an assist to the people who are causing the problem. They are acting essentially as propagandists for them. Not so, it's this subtle propaganda. Because if this is a problem with Congress, that means it's a problem. It's Republicans control Congress, and we got elections coming up. The other thing that we see, and Ted Cruz made a posting, and he posted on social media a letter that he sent to the fiscal clerk of the Senate. And it reads, "Dear Mr. Ruckner, for the remainder of the current partial," this didn't print off very well, partial lapse in appropriations, please hold my salary check for pickup in the something office. And it's essentially saying, if we can't get this thing done, then I don't deserve to be paid while others don't get paid. Anytime there is a shutdown in any capacity, and it gets to the point that Americans get frustrated, this idea comes up of, well, what would stop this? I'll tell you what would stop this, if members of Congress weren't getting paid either. Not really. And the reason why is because so many members of Congress, as you may know, particularly those that might be considered a little corrupt, have made themselves wildly wealthy, particularly when it comes to playing the stock market, to where their congressional pay doesn't even rise to the level of walking around money. Cutting off their pay is irrelevant to them. But not all members of Congress find themselves in that financial situation. Now, I'm in the 7th Congressional District. I know a lot of you are as well. And while I clearly don't know the personal finances of Congressman Burleson, I've been friends with his family for a long while. And I just suspect that given that, these people also have to have a place to reside up in D.C., and while, I think you get per diem situations and everything, it's very expensive in D.C., and he is a guy, like a lot of members of Congress, that just had a normal job. Not some wealthy individual in retirement age looking for something to do, not somebody that made millions of dollars. Well, someone like that really can truly be harmed if it comes to not paying members of Congress. So then that gives leverage. It almost gives a veto power to the really, really wealthy members of Congress because they don't need that pay. And so while I understand the motivation behind saying that, well, if they can't figure these shutdowns, these funding issues out, then they should no longer get paid either. That gives veto power to the rich ones because they can use that as a weapon against the members of Congress that aren't the long-term wealthy members of Congress. And let's be honest, we know that when you look at the independent wealth, this does fall largely along party lines, and you have a disproportionate high number of these multimillionaires that are Democrats, while disproportionately Republicans are the ones that have members that are just normal working people that can't afford that sort of financial situation. So that's why it's just ultimately, in terms of results and actual impact it would have, not a good idea. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hey, welcome to the show, everyone. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll be at Scramblers broadcasting live. It's the Friday Road Show. It's also a Heroes Breakfast. If you're a veteran, you come out there, join us from 6 to 9. Delta Roofing, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, Warrior's Journey, and Scramblers, along with Delta Roofing, if I didn't mention them already, all buying you breakfast. That's for you veterans. Heroes Breakfast tomorrow from 6 to 9 as we broadcast live from Scramblers. We should have Emily Johnson with us out there as well, House Theory Realty. Chad recently saying I cannot say enough good things about Emily Johnson. We were in the market for such a long time. She was patient, helpful, and she went far beyond what other realtors we've worked with have gone to make sure we got into a great home. She helped find the right contractors, get our place updated, and make the paperwork a breeze. She negotiated hard when we needed it, and she got us a great price on a home our whole family loves. Thank you so much, Emily. And you can, of course, read other reviews, be it on Zillow or Google reviews, social media. And then, of course, I've utilized her. Sarah, to a much greater extent, utilized her, as I know many of you have as well. So also a chance for you to maybe, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to her. But if you happen to be by one of our Friday Roadshow breakfasts, she's oftentimes there with us as well in the 8 o'clock hour. It's Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Want to remind you, roll call for the fallen and injured. This event Sunday. This is going to raise dollars for the deputies that were shot and or killed and their families as well. They're hoping, I think, to raise around $500,000. There is going to be silent auctions. There are going to be live auctions. All across the board, and it's just expected to be a really great time. It has outgrown the original location, which was going to be in the parking lot of Vineyard Market and B29 in Ozark, and it instead is going to be moved just south a bit to Ozark Mountain Sports Complex, and that, again, is going to be from 1 to 4. There'll be food and all sorts of stuff there as well, so maybe after church you can make your way over there and just have a great time, great cause, and maybe find yourself a real gem of an item that while purchasing, you can also be helping out the families of those deputies and the two that were shot but survived as well. It goes from noon to 4. We'll actually be out there for about an hour doing a live broadcast as well. Christy Fulnecki is with us.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, fun.
Yes,
Fun
we're going
diddly
after
on.
church.
Okay, well, then I'll see you there.
Yeah, because we go to James River South, so it's not far from
Yeah,
there.
it's just right down the road.
Yes, that's right.
You just get in that massive transport vehicle of yours and head
I
south.
get in my school bus
Getting
and drive it.
getting that school bus, and yeah, you can come on the show if you want.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could.
I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I think. What?
I would just ignore him.
We're gonna. Yeah.
Nick,
I'd be like, Chris, over here.
Wave.
I'm over here. No, come over. And he's hi.
No, my kids would probably want to go over there and start talking.
That's
They haven't
fine.
been on in a while. Well, I guess Samantha, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Any
That's
of them.
funny.
I think Congressman Burleson's going to be there, and I mentioned to him. I said, "Yeah, you're more than welcome to come on," which he's always kind enough to do so. I'm sure he'll be busy, but who knows who will stop by?
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
great. Well, I hope they raise a lot of money.
I suspect they will. Some of the items they have sound pretty awesome.
Really?
Yeah, they
Can
had
you give
listed.
us an example?
Yes.
Thank you.
They do it the story. We got all the way over here. So I saw Ozarks First had a story on this, and they said, let's see, Heather Davis said the donations have been staggering. Local businesses and individuals have contributed high-value items for the live and silent auctions, including a gold-plated Italian rifle, a $3,500 pair of earrings, and even a military Humvee donated by a man who went through the academy with Deputy Highslope. Yeah, you do. And that Humvee, actually, some of you know Jared Fox, who has been on a number of our Great Escapes. Some of you know him. He went through the academy with Deputy Highslope, and so he's donating that Humvee of his so that the dollars can specifically go to the deputy's son. And there's more than $100,000 worth of food and supplies that have been donated. It's a huge coming together, and all of the funds, 100% of those proceeds are going to go again to the families and then of course the deputies that were also injured during that whole horrific
So what is
situation.
it, a gold rifle? What was it?
Like an Italian gold rifle. I don't. I mean,
Well, I
it sounds self-explanatory, but I don't like. In Italy, do they run around with gold rifle? I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds really cool.
well,
Like,
I have an AR-15.
hey, who's got a
I get,
meatball? And
yeah.
then like,
Oh, no, that's
it's
not.
like
No.
Mario. Is it? I played virtually every Mario Brothers game, and I don't remember a golden rifle. It's not the same thing.
No.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say, I have an AR-15, so whatever that
I
thing is,
I
I look good next to
Yeah,
that.
I think that I want to say Heather had mentioned that an AR-15 also. What that there's just going to be tons of different
To my
things.
collection.
Well, Jared also donated. It's an actual Jack Daniel's
Yeah,
whiskey
whiskey
barrel.
barrel.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's part of. It's actually well. Let me do the news here, and then there's a veteran connection to the whiskey barrel itself. That's actually kind of interesting. I'd forgotten about. So
well,
yeah.
do they have any helicopters?
You know what? I don't know.
Actually, that Humvee might go well with my helicopter.
Yeah, you gotta have that. You have to have the. You should get the Humvee to drive you to the helicopter pad, just the 50 yards away from the house.
Gold rifle.
Yeah, with your gold.
If you want to see some of those items that are available for that live and silent auction, the Vineyard Market, they have a Facebook page. It's the Sheriff's Deputy Fundraiser. I guess it's an event page. And so you can view some of the items that are going to be up for grabs. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. The first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, and then cloudy skies with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid morning, and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61.
So I couldn't find the info I was looking for, but apparently it's part of some Operation Ride Home Barrel or something that Jack Daniels has done. But and I think there's like a certificate or something that maybe goes along with it. I forget all the details, but nonetheless, it's a really cool thing. So
Okay, well,
that's one of the other items that is going to be up for auction there. Yeah, so
well, this seems pretty good.
The Jack Daniels Operation Ride Home Barrel program sells authentic used oak whiskey barrels from their annual holiday barrel trees to support military families. And so that's they're 36-inch tall barrels sold to benefit the Armed Forces or the Armed Services YMCA, and so that's what this barrel is. So anyway, a lot of like live auction and silent auction stuff that'll be at that event coming up on Sunday, noon to 4.
That's awesome.
Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get traffic, and then
Okay.
we got Christy Folnecki with us here. Pyramid Roofing Company text line 447 KSGF. It's just being dramatic about it. I know.
That's creepy.
It was a little creepy. I want a great homeloan.com. Your home loan needs refinancing perhaps, but you have an interest rate at like 3% and it's still much more than that. Well, depending on any other loans that you may have out, you could still possibly come out ahead, or maybe other options are available for you as well. And then the reverse mortgage situation. That is something that can definitely be beneficial. I just always thought of it as, it's something for people who have their homes paid off and they're kind of retirement age, and it's a revenue source for them. But I've learned in our conversations with Alex and Anthony Carricker that it's so much more, and that there's a lot of ways you can utilize it to really benefit yourself financially outside of just having some home that you own as a retired individual. But they can go over all that with you as well. Whatever it is you need, you can start at iwantagreathomeloan.com. And then if you have any just direct questions, you're like, I don't want to submit email, Alex Carricker and Anthony Carricker's cell phone numbers are both right there in the upper left-hand corner, 7 days a week. You have access to that. Give them a call. iwantagreathomeloan.com. And Christy Folnecki is here.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. What did you want to say?
I just want to mention Samantha, my daughter, that she goes to school at University of Oklahoma. Like, I really need to say that, but
yeah.
So she spoke at this free speech rally at the Capitol, the Oklahoma Capitol yesterday. And so she spoke, and then a couple of people that were in the legislature. But it was kind of cool because they had a Senate bill. Like, isn't this crazy? You have to have this. So the bill was designed to ensure that students at public colleges can share ideas without fear of retaliation or censorship. So this is an actual bill they had to pass in the Senate.
It is a reflection of how corrupted the original purpose of universities has become. That was where you went to. That was a given.
I know.
This would be like having to pass legislation saying that you can have strippers in a strip club. You're like, well, yeah, isn't that the point? To have to say, to have to protect legislatively the right to have thoughts and ideas and debate on university
which that was
campus.
the purpose.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And that once upon a time, that was recognized as the first introduction that a person had to different ideas outside of what they were used to. Not that when they lived at home, they didn't have friends with different ideas, but all of a sudden you're going to a campus, and whereas your life was pretty much all about the people in your community, whatever city it was, even if it was a big city, maybe New York City. Well, suddenly you're on a campus with people from Mississippi and North Dakota and maybe people of different religions. And so you were introduced to people with different perspectives and ideas, and you were encouraged to talk about those things and to challenge your own mind. And instead, they become indoctrination centers where you go there. And what's sad is students know it. There was an article recently, and it was a research that was done showing that most students write papers based off of what they are, quote, supposed to believe instead of what they're told the assignment actually is, because they know that,
for their grade.
Well, for Pete's sakes, I mean, Samantha is a perfect example of that. What happens when you actually do an assignment and give your thoughts honestly on a particular subject matter that are out of line with what you're, quote, supposed to believe, you get punished for it.
Yeah.
And students know that.
It's just crazy because such a conservative state, not the university, but you have this conservative state that had to pass this law. And so she was sitting there. They were actually talking about her whole story and talking about her on the Senate floor. But I thought, that it's just so crazy. Like, there are these isolated, little labs or, whatever in a very conservative red state.
Well,
and
this is the unfortunate reality. People on the left are far more dedicated to their belief systems than collectively people on the right are, and politically speaking, certainly. Mm-hmm. So that's why, I mean, if you had a deep blue state, liberals, they would never, ever let university campuses
That's
become...
right. They would never.
would allow
they
that
would
to
never
happen.
do that. Yeah.
I mean, look at how radical they are about their causes, and they're always encroaching. They've gone from abortion should be, rare but safe, to
Hmm.
now it's just like abortions up to and past birth, and everyone should be able to get them paid for by taxpayers. And there's just no and anyone who believes otherwise in their own party, they purge out. Meanwhile, you can have, like you said, Oklahoma, Republicans run everything. Meanwhile, students in their own state paying money to go and be told how, indoctrinated into left-wing politics. And it's just because in terms of and the Republican Party and the Democrat Party demonstrate these personality traits. The Democrats as a party demonstrate they have greater convictions for their beliefs, and they are more passionate and adherent to them than the Republican Party. The Republican
Yeah,
Party
yeah.
talks a lot, but when it really
I know
comes
they
down
just
to, I
gotta
know.
stop things. It's so frustrating. And it's frustrating for parents too because you're like, what am I paying my money for? It's just, you
Yeah, to
might as
have your
well.
kids destroyed.
Yeah,
And a
right.
lot
I
of
mean,
it, honestly, it's to get a label. It's to get a certificate. It's to get a
yeah,
label. And because in a lot of industries, you have to have
yeah,
that.
like we've talked about. I mean,
Mhm.
my kids, that most of them want to go to
Right, yeah.
professional school, so they have to go through it. But I mean, for the people that have to pay for it, you're
Oh, I know.
like, I'm paying for this indoctrination. I mean, the good thing is it's maybe good training because you're teaching your kids how to act when they get out in the real world. And this is,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't expect that,
You-
at a place that you're paying to treat your
It
kids
would be like
this.
if down
It's like,
in the 90s, David Koresh at Waco. Waco was the college campus. David Koresh
Yeah.
was the dean, but they had legitimate courses with degrees that your child had to get in order to be in. So you're like, you pay the money. You're like, listen, just here's what they're going to be talking about. You got to understand it's a cult. They're all going to demand that you believe a certain thing.
yeah,
Just
that's
try to ignore it
exactly-
as best as possible. Get your degree so you can go on and have your career. Same thing.
That's right. You're paying to have your kids
yeah.
psychologically abused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, now we talked about this weekend, Sunday specifically, the cause of meaningfully coming together and raising dollars for the deputies that were shot, injured, and their families. For those that don't feel that that's meaningful enough, there is a No Kings event that's going to be taking place. If you're wanting to do something real
Are you
meaningful,
serious? On the same day?
no, I
Or
think
is
this
it-
is Saturday.
Oh, well.
So you could do both. You could do both. If you want to do
Exactly.
some real meaningful things here.
I could drive by and honk at them.
I mean, it's No Kings. More like there's so many other more appropriate names. No lives, no girlfriends, no meaningful relationship, no jobs. I mean, you could just go down the list of
It's the first one.
no personal hygiene. No, I mean, just go down the
No
list of
husbands.
no husbands.
Yeah, no husbands for that group.
None that are men, anyway, real men. You could just go down the list of things that are more appropriate to call it as opposed to No Kings. No normal hair. No, yeah. No sense of style.
I know. Well, we're being judgy, aren't we?
It's called observation. It's not a judgment. It's just an observation. I'm not judging you for it. It's just who you are. I mean,
so,
you can
so we're going to be at this, like 20.
at the no. Who knows? They don't have anything else better to do.
Actually stand out by the Veterans Hospital over there.
It's
by the VA hospital.
It's a nation. Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah.
Well, so
Well,
no.
there's switcheroo.
Oh,
This go
it's
around.
true.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They said, yeah, we're going to change the scenery this time. No, it's going to be off of East Battlefield Road between Campbell and Glenstone.
Okay, so on Battlefield.
Well,
between-
but here's what is so funny about it.
So
This is listen.
They think they're gonna be from Camel to Glenstone that far. There's gonna be so many of them.
I don't know.
Well, there may be because PJ Media notes leftists have coined the term intersectionality to make it easier to unite various radical causes into a single action. So they
But they probably
almost
don't even know what they're there
well,
for.
yeah, that's the thing. They don't, it's not even for really a cause other than you have nothing else going on in your life. You don't have anything meaningful going on. So this is essentially if you like to just bitch about something, but don't actually want to do anything meaningful to change, this is a day for you.
Oh, can we go out? Let's all three of us. Let's go out there like they do at Jesse Waters. Like Johnny goes out
Oh my gosh.
and talks to everybody.
Well,
And we'll be like, no Kings. Like, what do you think of Venezuela?
We should go. We should hand out or stand out there or pay people to stand out there with signs that say things like, leave Iran alone, executing homosexuals since 1979, stuff like that. Any country that stops women from driving can't be that bad. Hands off Iran, Donald Trump. And just stand there with them. I mean, what are they going to do? They can't disagree with it.
We should organize the counter protest.
Sarah was looking. I guess they have
let's
buttons.
do that.
Some of them specifically note unpaid. like that's how. Oh my! Of course, the Greene County Democrats. What losers!
Paid protester.
That's how clear it is that they
do have people that are paid.
That it is not grassroots, it's not genuine. They have to pay these people to come out. They actually have to have buttons to let people know. By the way, we're not being paid.
Okay, so this is on Saturday.
I don't know how the buttons are getting paid for.
Yeah,
you pay for them. There's one for $3 or two for $5.
Oh my gosh, they have to pay for their button. That tells you how much the party has in our county, I guess.
In all seriousness, like of all these people and the time and effort they're going to spend, which is not a lot of effort, they're just showing up. I guess getting outside and I was going to say taking off their pajama bottoms, but most of them won't do that either. They could collectively.
See somebody in a costume on Battlefield, you'll know what they're there for.
Yeah.
I see one of those.
But here's what's funny.
I hope dinosaur blow up frogs.
Here's what's.
If you see a stage with a bunch of frogs that are dancing, you'll know the Democrats are on Battlefield.
The giant brain trust on display, the intellectual creme de la creme of the Greene County Democrats, dressed as giant frogs. But this is 100. But here's the other thing: 100% serious. Because as we see any other given day, you get sort of these drug addicts that are wandering around the streets. You would not be able to tell the difference if one of them was standing nearby. You would not know if it was one of their people or just some psychopath.
Scared for those groups because I mean, literally, like the group during the State of the Union. Or when they had the people that didn't go to the State of the Union, when they had that stage, and they were frogs, weren't they? Mm-hmm. When they were dressed as, I mean, that's like the party for the mentally ill.
It is. It
that's
definitely is
scary.
But this is what's sad. All of those people, if they instead decided to do something like clean up trash off the side of the highway, or come together and help people who want to become legal immigrants to go through the process, or collect canned goods for something that actually was a true meaningful cause, how much meaningful stuff they could do. But if they have no interest in that,
I'm telling you,
they just want to stand on the side of the road and feel as if they're virtuous
but that's what I say. That's what I'm saying. You go down. You need to ask people why they're there. Most of these people have no clue why they're even there.
Stop that fascist dictator in the White House. I mean, it's just all the same.
Dictator.
I love there's a gal who goes around and she's a lesbian, but she used to be a left-winger, and then she just started paying attention. And so what she does is she'll go to these events as a lesbian, and she'll like, what are you we're protesting, and a lot of this was done when Trump was running the second time. Well, no, a lot of them are afterwards, because she asked the questions, what rights have you lost as a member of the LGBT community under Donald Trump? And they're just like, well, and sometimes they look at each other, well, gosh, where do I start? Like there's never ever been one. That's the world of fantasy they live in. They live in a world of fantasy in which when you say, okay, now, outside the bubble of fantasy, what rights have you actually lost? There's no answer, because they haven't.
Yeah, and then you go, and then, so what's their defense of Iran? I mean, if they're doing this, I mean, it's no Kings, but who knows what that means?
It's all about Trump.
Yeah.
It's all, they don't care about the victim. They don't care about the women, the LGBT.
The way of life of Iran.
It's because Trump's doing it. If this were during the Biden administration, instead of Ukrainian flags that they were all flying, that would be the Iranian flag from pre 1979.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they don't care about anything other than they're in a cult, and whatever their cult leader tells them to support, they do it unquestionably, and that's why they're all about Ukraine and this is the most important battle ever and so forth. But then Iran suddenly somehow like, well, what have they ever done to us, and why are we involved in this?
It seems like the protesting has kind of been dumbed down through the years because
Slightly.
because you're thinking like the protesters from Vietnam, they're clearly like when you would see videos, they're protesting a war and not getting
yeah.
out, timely. So then you see some of these interviews with these people, and they can't even articulate why they're there.
Yeah.
I think they just want friends.
Well, they used to do also chanting. Like during Vietnam, they would have all the different chants that they would do. And I think that you don't see that any longer because it involves rhyming, and that is way above
No,
the
they
education
sing
level
now.
of
Is
the left today. They're like, rhyming? Chips and Trump. Does that rhyme? No, that's not what rhyming is.
I mean, I was born in '73, so I was most of it probably wasn't even alive, but you kind of get the sense that like during that culture, maybe those people were trying to be, edgy and cool and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they're totally not. That's totally not them
No.
to wear costumes. And then when they start doing this singing thing, I don't know what.
And
That's
that's
so
it.
cringy.
Well, but you
It's-
know what? If you notice, it's almost always the old ones that do the singing. And so it's kind of a throwback to the hippies of the anti-war, where they would do the songs and stuff. Yeah, and guess what? The
cool
yeah,
ones, okay?
we got Christy Fulnecki with us. Traffic update and more ahead. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, otherwise cloudy with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid-morning and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61.
Text on the Pyramid Roofing Company text line. Totally disappointed trying to find an unpaid mostly peaceful protester button. Yeah.
You might have to request those ones.
I know, that's right. I hope some of the listeners will go out there and hold signs of their own signs.
We could go out there and just hand out toiletries. Little bars of soap and foams.
Deodorants.
Yeah, little deodorants.
I mean, we probably could. It could be kind of a ministry. We could hand food out and bags
Job
of food
applications.
Yeah.
Pamphlets on, no meaning.
Pamphlets for therapists.
Yeah. No meaning in your life.
Mental disorder.
Do you look like this? I do look like that. That's the other.
Do you hear these voices in your head? And one of them sounds like Donald Trump.
I find humor in the fact that they tend to fancy themselves as such fans of diversity and their own uniqueness, yet you can easily point them out in a crowd because they all look just alike. Yes, you're so wildly unique. Guess what? You're going to get pointed out in a lineup any day of the week by any normal human being.
I know,
even
that's
your
right.
own type.
Jeez. Oh, gosh.
So what else?
Stay on this topic for a while.
Yeah, rip these losers.
That's right. I want to know, really, we probably should talk about more important things, but, like, whose idea was it to start wearing costumes?
I don't know.
When it's not Halloween.
I'm just trying to think of the equivalent. I can't imagine Republicans at a pro-life event, and they're like, look, I'm a giant pretzel. Why the hell are you a giant pretzel? Oh, I just am. It would make no sense whatsoever. You just wouldn't find that.
I know. And can you imagine going
crazy.
to a political event and just talking to your friends and you're dressed up as a god?
Try to
It's a dinosaur. I mean, the dinosaurs that I've seen.
And all the time believing that you have the intellectual superiority to know how best to run the country and
then think it's serious.
One of my very favorite body cam footage videos was during some of the there were some of the mostly peaceful riots that the Democrats were leading, and one of the idiots had a dinosaur inflatable outfit on or a frog, and somebody from law enforcement sprayed tear gas in the intake thing. So you see them, and then all of a sudden they just start twitching and jerking around, trapped in there with that tear gas. Oh, the entertainment! Have you seen that video?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like during the ice,
but because I think it was pretty chaotic. There were a lot, and
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Just in my mind, imagine. On one hand, these people. They romanticize themselves as these great warriors, but then it's like, are you in your mind playing music like as if you're in a movie? But at the same time, you're in this inflatable thing, and all the sounds outside are muffled, and it's kind of fogged up inside, but you still somehow fancy yourself as some William Wallace character while this is going on, and then suddenly you realize that tear gas has surrounded you.
Saying that they're mentally ill, because you would think you'd have camo on, you'd have a bulletproof vest, you'd have, a helmet, all this stuff, you're ready to riot. You're like, no, I'm going to dress up as a unicorn. I think I'll take this unicorn costume
Yeah.
instead of the camo to go fight for my cause.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there's any sort of connection between increased participation in protest around the time that all of those Halloween stores pop up with the costumes, because that is, I wonder what percentage of their sales goes to these nut jobs.
Oh yeah, no, I actually had that in my mind about, it can be challenging to find costumes when it's not Halloween. They probably have them right, when they have their events and stuff. They probably have a store you can buy the costumes right next to your abortion clinic.
I've got yeah, free abortion with an inflatable cat outfit.
I am reading an article from the original Frog Guy.
So there's an original.
There's an original one, the original one from Oregon. He's the one who started it all.
Oh yeah, I would be so proud.
Yeah.
Put that in your resume, dude.
In this article, he told the New York Times that the frog costume was meant to contrast the narrative that we are violent extremists. It's also less likely that someone watching will say, maybe that frog deserved it if they get pepper sprayed.
Yeah, I think you missed the mark on this. So they wanted we wanted to counter the narrative that we're people that are violent with the narrative that we're a bunch of idiots.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
It's
idiots.
stupid to be violent. Wear big costumes.
He also goes on to quote the reason why they decided to start wearing costumes is to mask their identities. Huh.
Oh, really? That's ironic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like anybody cares who they are.
I have two inflatable costumes.
They're on Saturday.
Maybe I should. I have one that is, and I think I wore it
Can you
here.
say this on the air? Be careful what you say.
Yeah, kids are in school right now. One of them is
well, yeah. Some of them
one of them is the it's one of the, like you see in front of car lots, the big wavy arm guys things. One of them is that, and the other one is just a giant inflatable white thing. That's all. It's just it's not really anything. And I had one year taking the girl child trick or treating. I got that, and then just a cat head that went on top of it. So
this will be like Matt Walsh. So we all dressed up in costumes.
May not be a bad idea.
I mean, really,
just walk around and be like, "Did you hear Trump was a dictator?" And they'll be like, "Yep, they're one of ours." The minute they,
except they're like, "Your voice sounds familiar."
Yeah. They'll start to get suspicious, like, "Hey, we've never seen you before. JD Vance is even scarier than Trump." And they're like, "Oh, okay, he passed the test. He's okay."
So what was the second costume? I missed that one.
It was just that giant white thing. It was just a big. I'll show you a picture of it.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you.
I was wearing it so that year Halloween, we went around and we were trick or treating. And let me tell you, you get really hot in those things, okay? And I'm sweating. It's not a cold Halloween, and I'm sweating in that thing. And so we were there with some friends of the girl child's friend at the time. They were like in elementary school. They were really young, and so we're trick or treating around Schuler Ridge in Republic, and so this friend of mine, Mike Mitchell, is standing there, and I'm like, I got to take this thing off. And so I pull like my arm. Now, of course, it's filled, right? It's inflated. And I've been in this thing sweating for like 2.5 hours. I pull my arm out, and it's suddenly a burst of air shoots out right into his face, and he almost threw up because of the smell. It was evidently pretty vile.
Oh, yeah, I never thought about that. The smell.
Yeah.
What it smell like at these rallies?
Marinating. And yeah. I mean, they already have some sort of aversion to hygiene, and so you put one of them to bake inside one of those air fryers for 2 hours. I mean, would not want to be in a closed room with them when they took it off. All right, we got to get some traffic.
Oh,
Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. Springfield Livestock Marketing Center, they have a horse sale coming up this Friday starting at 5 p.m. They will do saddles first and then the horses to follow. Christy, you've got acreage. Do you need a horse?
I
Well,
do.
you
Did you
should.
hear me? I do want a horse.
You should, actually, because you got a pretty long driveway. You could get on that bad boy and to get your mail.
I think I need that instead of the helicopter.
You should get both.
Except to get outside the court, I'm like, where do I tie my horse up?
Anyways,
Name it
that's
Flip Clop. Be a good name for it. Flip Clop.
yep. So
You can just tie it around one of the
yeah.
inflatables.
Yep, don't forget this Friday at 5 p.m. Make sure that you go out there and buy Clip Clop. And hey, if you can't make it, they've also got online bidding as well. You can check out other upcoming sales, springfieldlivestock.com. And of course, you can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Pyramid Roofing Company.
I'm sure about the kids. Everyone's about to have a car wreck. They're probably laughing.
The text line regarding, I think this is just the best. Talking about the lefties wearing these inflatables all the time. I think they picked the costume because it's the only thing clean they have in the closet. Closet? You're giving them credit that they hang up their clothes. You mean it was the only thing on the floor? Like that look, that doesn't stink. That doesn't
That's so
absorb
funny.
odors. I saved this story from earlier this week. I don't know why I found it funny, particularly like the very end of the story. So this is ozarksfirst.com. A woman has recently been arrested after allegedly threatening a local business in Christian County on Monday. According to online court dockets, Tony Vanderberg, born in 1986 of Battlefield, has been charged with a felony of second-degree terrorist threat and a misdemeanor of peace disturbance. Court dockets say she has pleaded not guilty in the case. The probable cause statement says law enforcement responded to the business and spoke to the victim, who claimed that Vanderberg came inside to have her ignition interlock device calibrated. During the incident, Vanderberg is accused of getting angry and screaming at the victim in front of other employees and patrons. The woman then left for her vehicle, but is reported as continuing to yell and curse through the driver's side window. Officials began to speak with Vanderberg, with a deputy noting that the woman was belligerent towards them and continued to scream around the business. Vanderberg then told the deputies that she was going to walk back inside and, quote, blow this whole effing place up.
Oh my gosh.
When a deputy advised her not to make the statement, she continued and said, quote, I'm being serious, the statement said. The victim told law enforcement they wanted to press charges for the incident. I think I'm being serious.
Oh my gosh.
You get that officer thinking, I'm just trying to listen. Don't say that. You know, she's like, oh, no, you're not listening to me. I'm going to blow that place up.
Yeah. Was she a white liberal?
She's white. And
Okay.
So,
and please do not call please do not call my office. I'm not going to represent you. Okay.
Might be. Now, we don't know her side of the story. Could have been bad customer service or
Doesn't
something.
sound good.
You're probably not going to blow this whole effing place up. Takes
To defend.
Well, she just yeah. Now, I'm sure she really wanted to make sure that she's
Like, I was
not
talking about blowing it up.
She is in the Christian County Jail with a bond reduction hearing scheduled Wednesday, March. Oh, so I'm sure that with that bond reduction hearing, that was yesterday. I'm sure that her number one priority was to make sure that she was going to be out in time for the No Kings protest on Saturday. Quick break. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I thank Kiki the Comanche for probably one of the more unproductive hours that we've had together. So someone, yeah, I think someone had texted about you need Kiki the Comanche
yeah,
arriving on Clip Clop.
she- Kiki the Comanche coming in hot on Clip Clop.
I think I think I stole that name. I want to say there was an episode of American Dad where Roger takes on a persona of a horse, and I think that horse's name was Clip Clop. I could be wrong about
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah. People who don't watch that cartoon have, first off, they're like, what are you watching
I have
cartoons?
to give credit. It's Sophia that works for me. She's awesome. So she just
Oh, is she the one who said
she's
that?
the one that texted me. Yeah, she's
Well, if she continues to work with you after listening to you on this sort of, like, yep, that's my boss. I'm going to tell my mom to listen in. She knows that I've made some very wise career path decisions working for this attorney.
You know, your show's very popular. Everywhere I go, people are like, "We hey, we listen to you on the radio," and
I think this hour maybe disproportionately.
that's
I
right.
don't really know for sure that I hear that as often as you do.
You know, how much time do we have?
We got 2 minutes.
Oh, that's all. Okay.
Mhm.
You know, this is so. Did you see the Epstein hearings, the financial guys that were testifying?
A little bit.
That was so crazy.
Mm.
And to me, like, I think this is interesting, but the attorneys, the one attorney, I didn't see the other ones. They were sure there were multiple people that testified. But I guess you waive attorney-client privilege. He was talking all about Epstein.
Well, maybe because he's dead, I guess.
Well, the privilege survives.
Oh.
But I don't know. I was just reading something that in front of congressional committees. That
Okay.
Something, but
Know.
I just thought that was interesting. They're all like, "We have no idea," and his accountant said, "Well, I had no idea any of this was going on." Well, how do you think he was making his money?
It's amazing how little the smartest people in the world, like all of these
Yeah,
people,
they're just
whether it's Hillary Clinton, who we were told is the smartest woman in America, yet what was going on? I had no idea. So you're a good judge of very observant.
Yeah. And then Bill's laughing, good time.
Yeah,
like flipping through the book. Pretty good.
Yeah,
I was like flipping through the book.
For him, it was like when you and I looked through our high school yearbook, and we're like, "Oh man, I remember that girl." That's what he's going through those Epstein files. Like,
pretty good there.
Yeah. I wonder if she has a daughter today. All right. Well, thanks for
that was very
blowing
productive.
through an hour on the public airwaves this morning, Christy Fulnecki.
Yes, thank you.
And then
It was
maybe
very enjoyable.
we'll see you at the roll call for the fallen and injured that coming up, and we've got that. It's at the Ozark Mountain Sports Complex coming up from noon to 4 this Sunday. We've got info on that up at
KSGF.com.
Right, excellent news coming up
I'll be
in
there.
60 seconds. Also, author of the week in the next hour, sponsored by ABC Books of North Glenstone. All right, so tomorrow we do have a Heroes Breakfast. We're going to be broadcasting live from Scramblers. If you're a veteran, come on out, get free breakfast. Delta Roofing, Warrior's Journey, Air Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical, and Scramblers all coming together to provide you breakfast as veterans. Doors open at 6 a.m. And until our broadcast is complete for the morning, which is until 9 a.m., you are able to get that breakfast. Ozarks Elder Law. A lot of people think, just like in the good old days, you could write out something. You could even scratch it out on a piece of napkin and sign it. Like, I want to leave everything to my wife or the babysitter, whatever it might be. And then you sign it, and they're like, well, look what we got here. Oh, this is as good as can be. It does not work that way any longer. You write your will out on a piece of paper, even something that you download off the internet that's like, yeah, this is good to go. Missouri statutes won't honor this as a valid will. And so then the government decides where your stuff goes, who gets it. That can take years, literally years. Now, this is the thing. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to take it away from you and sell it at auction or even distribute it in a way that you find to be unfair. But it could take years to get it done. It is the government we're talking about. Even some of the smallest belongings, maybe a pair of earrings that mom always wore, it could take years with that stuff being held up until final decisions are made. Now, Ozarks Elder Law, they take care of so much more than that. A lot of things you may not even think about that you need to have written up by legal representation. But they can go all over all of that for you. And the consultation is a courtesy. They recognize that a cost for a consultation that oftentimes are associated with attorneys and billable hours is an obstacle that prevents a lot of people from taking that step and getting it done. So that's why they eat that cost for you. And so when you make an appointment, what they'll do is they'll, set up a time, and then they give you some, quote, homework, a little worksheet. And they're like, here's the stuff that we need you to bring. That way, that first meeting is meaningful. So they can look over everything that they requested, and from that, in that consultation, let you know, okay, so here's what we've got to do. This is what we need in order to do it, and this is why it needs to be done, and this is the cost to get it done. So then you can make the decision fully informed, knowing exactly up front what the cost will be. OzarksElderLaw.com, 10 area locations. Again, that consultation's a courtesy. You can also find them under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Got a great author of the week coming up here in a couple of moments. Sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Weather also right now, the latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, otherwise cloudy, with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid-morning, and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61.
Nick Reed. Thursday means it's Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Our author today is also a columnist for The Federalist and a contributor at the New York Post. Eddie Scarry's latest book, Traitors, the Democrat Party's Collapse into Anti-American Filth. And it gets, I think it's extremely accurate. It gets right to the point. And I'm telling you, it just worries me what tomorrow will look like, given what today looks like compared to yesterday with the Democrat Party. I mean, it just seems as if, well, the title describes it.
Absolutely. You can look at one thing after another today, including the way Democrats talk. I was just listening to an interview recently with Gavin Newsom, Democrat governor of California. And he was explaining how he felt that the Democrat Party needed to be more culturally normal, less culturally weird. And he followed that up by saying, we need to talk less about these pronouns and the gender issues. Well, you can talk less about them, but that doesn't make the problem go away. The problem still exists, and it is just that the Democrat Party on every single issue is fundamentally anti-American, meaning at odds with our traditions, our customs, what generally the population has believed for so long in this country. You look at how they approach crime. They're in favor of it because they oppose more policing. You look at how we believe in strong borders, appropriately managed immigration, and Democrats don't. They resist every single effort to manage the border, including deporting anyone who's in the country illegally. I always like to remind everyone that a sitting Democrat senator left this country to go to a foreign nation, El Salvador, to re-import a self-professed illegal alien. That is how serious they are about opposing any efforts on the border. They of course, they don't believe in free and fair elections. We saw what they did last year. I hope we never get over it. How they just switch out their nominee, a sitting U.S. president, install someone to be their nominee, all the while attempting to bankrupt, imprison their leading political opponent, and that's when they're not trying to keep his name off the ballot. And then ultimately, there's an attempted assassination on him. You just look at every single issue again that Democrats say they believe in. They'll tell you they believe in a strong border. They say that they believe in policing, and yet every single thing they do is at odds with what Americans want and what Americans have traditionally stood for.
One of the brilliant minds on The View in the last few days made a comment along the lines of, when Trump dies, there's going to be a lot of people who cheer. And I thought it was such a clear look into the minds of the people on the left that once upon a time, if that had been said, the left would have recoiled at the accusation. They would have said, we would never do something like that. But today, not only are they openly acknowledging it, but they see it as virtuous. And it's just that mindset, I think, really captures what you're writing about here, and that it's anti-American filth.
And that's such a good point, because I was, as a matter of fact, thinking about it right before we got on this phone call. I think about it a lot, and it was just really, really upsetting, disturbing, heartbreaking in a lot of ways. To your point, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there was a period of time when such a thing might happen. There were some people, some nasty people who got online. They did it on their private Facebook, or they did it anonymously in the comments section at the Huffington Post, where they might say something crass, like, oh, well, he got what he deserved. He got what was coming to him. Now what Democrats and their base does is they go on TikTok with their full name, their full picture, where they work, their biography, and they say, I am so glad that he's dead. I'm so glad he was just shot in front of children in public. They say things like that, and it infiltrates every other aspect of their life when they say that they're afraid for our democracy, and yet every single thing they do is to undermine our democracy. I hope we never forget what happened last year, just what the sitting president went through, and still somehow managed to eke out a landslide win, winning every single swing state. You had the full national news media, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, all swearing that if this person won, Donald Trump won, that's the end of our democracy,
Right.
while lying in every single way, allowing the new nominee to disavow every single position she had held up until that moment. Everything she had said about the economy, about immigration, about crime, everything. She did a complete 180 on that, and the media said that was fine. That's completely okay. That's not a free and fair election. Don't tell me how you're the party of democracy if you're just going to completely lie, pretend that everything we just went through didn't happen, all because you can't stand the idea that that the voters will choose something else. They don't believe in that.
We're talking with Eddie Scarry. The book is Traitors, the Democrat Party's Collapse into Anti-American Filth. I open up talking about I fear what they will demonstrate tomorrow. And every time I think, surely they cannot think of a more depraved position to take, but I think about the context of the war against Iran and how we've recently heard some Democrats saying that when it comes to this enemy, these terrorists that have been killing off Americans over the years, that have fully declared we're the enemy. They want to wipe us off the map. And in our action, a number of them have said that we should believe them over our own president, that when it comes to whom it is that you should trust, it should be leadership of the Iranians. And then you even pull into the fold some of these elected Democrats that put out a produced video telling Americans who are serving their country that it's their duty, if there's something that they believe is illegal, to defy those orders, while then declaring this war illegal. And I think I just don't know what more they can do to demonstrate that they are giving aid and comfort to the enemy, that they are enemies of the United States through their own words and actions. And I'm just profoundly astonished at the levels they've gone.
Right, and I think nothing comes second. I do think it is the premier defining quality of the modern Democrat Party is just undermining over and over again, eroding our understanding and our agreement on what the rule of law is and how it applies to everybody, and should apply to everybody. They rather instead believe in locking people up, chasing them down with lawfare. Look at what they do with the Supreme Court. Every single decision before it comes out of any kind of political consequence, they sow doubt. They prep the public to not have faith that these are reasoned, logical, legitimate conclusions that the court has reached. That they did it with the immunity, executive immunity that the president has. The Supreme Court essentially said, the president, with all the responsibilities and stress that comes with that job, he can't possibly execute that job, believing that once he's out of office, he's going to be imprisoned and chased down by the political opposition. That's a total, and that should apply to any president on any side. And yet, you saw the media, you saw Democrats, you saw liberals come out and say, "Well, that's going to allow the president to just shoot somebody."
Right. Whenever
Whenever he said that he wanted to shoot somebody in the middle of New York, a New York street, he meant it. And look, he can get away with it. And that's the type of stuff they say so that the public, that voters lose faith in the system, because when you lose faith and you're demoralized and they make those arguments, they're saying, put us back in power, give us back the power, because they fully well want to do the things that they accuse the other side of wanting to do.
I worry greatly that when you have one political party that, as you've noted, it's not even an alternative as a political party within the American system. It is an anti-American party. And just even aside from some of these subject matters we've been talking about, the insanity of the things that they propose and focus on, whether it's forcing girls to shower with boys and tampons in men's bathrooms, and or all the way up to openly siding with the enemy during a war. The opposition to that, the Republican Party, should win 90% of elections in that context. And yet here we are at a point in which it looks like Republicans have already surrendered the House and are questioning whether they'll hold on to the Senate. And I worry what that means about the country, about the Republican Party, that in what should be, without question, just a slaughter, given the Democrat Party, that it isn't. I mean, it's very worrisome.
For sure, and I 100% agree. And as much as I hate the Democrat Party, as anti-American it is, Republicans really, especially of late, do not give voters much to say,
No.
yeah, I'm going to go out and vote for them. They really haven't on so many levels. They've just completely, as you said, surrendered everything. Where is the legislation on anything? And it's like everyone and every Republican in Congress says, well, we're just waiting to hear from the president. Well, the president does have things to do.
Right.
He is dealing with wars abroad. He has foreign policy. He has China. He has Israel. He's got Ukraine. He's got Russia. They passed the legislation that he put through last year. There is only so much he can do, which is not to absolve him of any responsibility. But they're not without agency whatsoever. But one thing I will say, to a point you raised about the Democrat Party as an alternative to the Republican Party, that I also find very interesting when Democrats of late, they come out and say, well, we have to offer an alternative to the Republican agenda. My question to that always is, what is the alternative to securing the border? What is the alternative to immigration law enforcement? What is the alternative to more policing? What is the alternative to, lower taxes for the middle class? What is the alternative? Just take any issue. Tell me what the alternative is to that. Tell me one you raise. What is the alternative to believing that minors should not be in any way having their biology and chemistry tinkered with by a doctor when they don't need it? Tell me what the alternative to those things are. And you'll watch anytime a Democrat comes out and says, yeah, we got to offer the alternative. I was listening to Ben Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, who they think is going to run for president. Similarly, just comes out and says, we have to give them tangible things. Okay, well, tell me what the tangible thing is that is the alternative to all of these positions. Just everything they believe in when they say that, again, it's just anti-American stuff.
Well, and there also was that period of time after the election in which it was openly talked about the recognition that the Democrat voters wanted their party to, quote, fight harder. And I'm thinking, you call the opposition Nazis, you throw them off the ballot, you try to imprison them, you try in some capacity to murder them, and I'm not really sure how much harder you can fight. You're just fighting wrongly, but I always thought that was somewhat humorous, as if they were these soft little kittens that just weren't putting up some sort of ferocious fight.
Exactly, and you see things like the president, when he put all the portraits of past presidents and current president up in the Rose Garden, and one of them was Joe Biden. It was the auto pen instead of Joe Biden,
yeah.
And that's supposed to be this giant affront to the office of the presidency, degrading. Okay, well, let's talk about what Joe Biden. If that's the retaliation against the former president, if that's the retaliation for him sicking his Justice Department again to either bankrupt or throw in prison his predecessor, I think that things are going just fine for them.
Yeah.
So this idea that they have to, as they'll often say things like, we're bringing a pen to a knife fight. Okay, well, you brought everything you had aside from a gun, and actually I wouldn't even rule that out if you look back at the record. They brought everything they had to actually zero out this opponent, truly zero him out, and also his supporters, mind you, because there were people they were throwing in prison for, showing up at school board meetings, protesting abortion clinics. What happened on January 6th, which I always remind people did not happen in a vacuum, that proceeded months and months of liberals burning down cities, holding cities hostage, all because they wanted to win an election, causing billions of dollars in damage. People died. Okay, well, January 6th, yeah, if people were a little bit upset about that, the opposite side was a little bit upset, you might understand it a little bit. That doesn't justify it, but you might understand it. You might consider that reality.
Our author of the week, Eddie Scarry, the book Traitors, the Democrat Party's Collapse into Anti-American Filth. And final question, I know that, I'm sure you hear it all the time, the frustration is framing it earlier as atrocious and anti-American. The Democrat Party, as Republicans, still somehow can't seem to manage to not only not have a landslide, but potentially not lose. So what hope is there? What is it that Americans can look to that gives them some sense of hope?
There is the truth that the president tends to land on his feet, and thusly we all tend to land on our feet. So if we feel like we're in a dark period right now, we have seen this before, and we have come out at the end, and there has been light at the end of the tunnel, whether we don't see it right now or not. So I am not a doom and gloomer. I'm not a black pillar. I don't think all is lost. But time is running out. Time is running out. I hope that things start to turn around, especially as things kick in. We were looking at the Treasury Secretary who's been telling us all along within the first quarter of this year, the economy should really start bouncing in new ways, and the vibration should be getting a lot better for some people. I'm still hopeful. Again, that deadline's coming up very soon, in about a little less than a month, I think. But like I said, we have seen situations before where it seems very dark, very uncertain, and yet the president, along with, and he brings us with him, where he lands on his feet, and I'm hopeful that can happen again. Don't lose hope.
Our author of the week, Eddie Scarry, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone, where you can get the book Traitors, the Democrat Party's Collapse into Anti-American Filth, for Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 89. Tonight a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms, otherwise cloudy with a low around 47. For your Friday, a 60% chance of thunderstorms through mid-morning and then mostly cloudy with a high near 57. And taking a look at Saturday, sunny with a high near 61. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air, the Foreman team, they were out at my parents' house yesterday doing a pretty big upgrade for them. Now, my parents, they live in a farmhouse that is just shy of 100 years old, and so the heating and cooling in that house, it's just been a hot mess. That's just the best way to describe it. But the Foreman team got them all hooked up with a couple of mini split units, 10-year parts warranty, 10-year compressor warranty, and 1-year labor warranty. And my dad, he called me last night after they were done with the installation, and he said, "You are never going to believe it. I am sitting in the bedroom and it is actually staying cool in here." And then he laughed, and that just gave me a peace of mind. I knew they were in good hands with the Foreman team. Now, if it's time to have the Foreman team out to your home, whether you're looking for a mini split or maybe just a repair to your current unit, reach out to Russell. You can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Jimmy Kimmel is catching flack online for making a dig at, quote, plumber DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin. He was called out for mocking the newly confirmed Department of Homeland Security secretary as an unqualified plumber during his monologue Tuesday night, saying Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including the newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security Markwayne Chuck, Mike, Bruce, Dave, Mellon, Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He's the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Markwayne Mullin was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right, we have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. It worked for Super Mario. Why not Markwayne? I mean, this is who these people are. I mean, there's nothing wrong for calling this guy out on it, but is this not what we've come to expect from Democrats and their perspective of the average person? This again reinforces the reality that the left is the party of the uber wealthy elites that demonstrate through perspectives like this that they genuinely think that they are better than us. Now, these are the same people, mind you, that would celebrate if someone like Stephen Colbert, right? And in fact, there's a talk encouraging him to run for president. But a guy who has served as a U.S. senator and he was an MMA fighter and a plumber, somehow that individual's not worthy to lead Homeland Security. Because it's not really about the background, it's about status. See, Stephen Colbert, he's one of them. He's an elite. He's a wealthy elite whose mere existence, they believe, earns him tens of millions of dollars that he should just be getting even though he's losing the company money, which is why they portray the discontinuation of a show as some sort of great tragedy. Let's not forget how they mocked, quote, Joe the plumber, who made headlines because he asked then candidate Barack Obama questions. Or I don't know, maybe Obama was running for re-election, but confronted Obama in a very polite way about, I think it was the economy or something. I don't remember the exact issue, but it was something that, how dare you question King Obama? And so he became targeted. His tax information was illegally released by someone in the IRS, and he was mocked. We've seen this party mock Trump supporters and conservatives and Republicans and middle America folks, as people at Walmart, which tells you what they think about those of you who shop at Walmart, which I'm one of those people. They look down on us. Many of them probably look down on us because we actually shop for ourselves instead of having assistants do it for us. Many of these people mock cultures and environments that they themselves have never even stepped foot in. Their entire acknowledged support for illegal immigration is to do the jobs that they don't want to do, the jobs that are beneath them. Jasmine Crockett herself said, we've talking about black people in this country that, hey, we're done with slavery. And she was talking about the reason that we needed more illegals. She said, we're not doing those jobs anymore. How many times have Democrats said, who's going to clean your toilet? Who's going to wash your clothes? Who's going to mow your lawn? Things that hilariously they don't recognize are things that the average person does for themselves. It's so they are so detached from reality and look down on you and I so much. It never crosses their mind that most of us mow our own lawns. Most of us clean our own toilets. I don't think that part of it has ever really sunk in for people whenever some of these Democrats have had to backtrack because they've made statements along those lines. You know, who's going to clean your toilets if we deport all the illegals? But aside from the racist component to it, it hasn't really resonated the fact that that's how detached they are from our lives and how we live. Like most of us clean our own toilets. I mean, you know, some of you listening may not. You have housekeepers that do it and so forth, but the vast majority of Americans do clean their own toilets and mow their own lawns or hire a neighborhood kid to do it. I don't begrudge people who live in a world in which they are able to pay people to do things that most of us pay for ourselves, because that honestly, it creates jobs. I think it's great. I've never had a problem with this. You know, you see these stories that would pop up once in a while. I think, you know, Kim Kardashian, her kid's first birthday, and they spent $240,000 on it, and that's just sinful. That money could have gone to some good cause. Well, you know how many people have jobs because of people like that spending that kind of money? You know, the small business owner that has a petting zoo that gets hired, or the catering service that has, a dozen employees, the tablecloth service, So I not only do I not begrudge people who have so much wealth that they purchase and have events that I can never even comprehend. I'm glad that exists. I really, truly am. But it's when they believe that somehow their way of life is superior, and the mockery of the rest of us. And not because they're wealthy that bothers me. I think anyway, listen, we all live in our own bubbles to a large degree because we know what we know. I think intelligent and compassionate people, though, recognize that. We understand that other people have different lifestyles, different choices, different beliefs, whether we agree with them or not. We at least understand that. But these elites shelter themselves so much. Jimmy Kimmel, do we think he fixes his own plumbing? He'll mock Americans who are plumbers for a living. Yet the minute that he can't, his toilet is constantly running, a job that a lot of people could DIY it. Not him, though. In fact, he won't even make the phone call himself, I'm sure. He'll have somebody that works for him do it. I'm not going to call a plumber. Yet without one, where would he be? This is no surprise. This is the left today. This is the Democrat Party. It's the party of the elite. It is the party of total detachment. This is part of the reason that they try to fake being normal people. That video of Elizabeth Warren in her kitchen years ago where she asked her husband to grab a beer out of and it was just all so fake. Or Chuck Schumer with the frozen burger patties and cheese on top of them on the grill pretending that he's grilling out. Or just, all of these things that they do. And it's just so cringy. And it is a signal that not only are they detached from us, but they know so little about us, they can't even fake being like us. But that presentation of superiority, and I'm just amazed that there are average people out there that, I guess it's just denial that the party that they support and that they will go door to door with and protest on behalf of and give part of their paycheck to. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, this smug elitist that insults and mocks people in the plumbing profession, yet he then expects those same people to use part of the paycheck they earn to write checks to Democrats, to people of his political party to keep them in power. These smug individuals. And that, I mean, this is part of the reason that the Democrat Party no longer is the party of the working man, no longer the party of the blue-collar worker. And when it comes to actual workers, the Democrat Party is no longer the party of the union worker. Now, the union establishment and infrastructure that funnels money, they still are lockstep in with the Democrat Party, but the actual workers are not. The fact that there are any left, it's just a real shame because it shows a level of complete lack of self-respect. It's not to say that, you have to choose the other party then. It doesn't mean you have to be Republican. But for Jimmy Kimmel to use his platform to denigrate and mock people of a profession that he relies on, a plumbing profession, something that good, hardworking, very good living as well. Not to somebody like him, of course. That's not even walking around money, but it's a great living to support a family, and to mock that is of no surprise because that's the culture of the Democrat Party today. It just is. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. And Sarah Myers.
Hey, that's me. The Pyramid Roofing Company, there are still door knockers out there trying to take advantage of the storms that rolled through, a couple of weeks ago at this point. Now, if you have damage, or maybe you're not exactly sure if you do have damage, make sure that you go with a trusted professional. And Josh with the Pyramid Roofing Company, he will always shoot you straight. They don't make you sign anything until after that whole insurance process is said and done, which not all roofing companies do that, by the way. They don't cut corners, they don't reuse material, and they always use high quality material. If it is time to have the Pyramid team out to your home, schedule that free roof inspection today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Off air, just talking about the elitism of the left and Jimmy Kimmel mocking now GHS Secretary Mullen for being a plumber, and the idea that someone like that could have anything to do with national security. And, this doesn't surprise me. The left for years have exposed their belief that we need illegal aliens to do jobs that, quote, they don't want to do, or that they think Americans don't want to do. That, just beyond their comprehension. And, here's a guy that decided to try and serve his country in the capacity as an elected official. And while some people might, I don't know the guy personally, and we do tend to have a negative view of people that get into politics for long term as being self-serving and so forth. But this is something that, like, what are you doing? And a guy that was an MMA fighter and that they look at and they mock because, like, in their minds, that isn't the sort of person that has the capacity to run this country. You think about the way that they talk about J.D. Vance. And a period of time now, of course, they've tried to really attack him from a number of fronts. But mocking his upbringing and, suggesting that because of the way he grew up, he might not be equipped to be able to make the same decisions that, someone like a, Kennedy would have, or other than RFK Jr., of course, or a Gavin Newsom, these elites that were born into high society who, of course, ironically, try and pretend that they're the opposite. I mean, this is just the upside down world that the left creates. The people that they mock, the people that they portray as incapable of holding leadership positions because of their salt of the earth background, when they run for office, they make up stories to make you think that that's who they are. Their rough and tumble lives. Oh, they grew up, Gavin Newsom running around talking about how poor he was. And I mean, this is a guy that, spent his younger years traveling around and on, vacation with famous people as a young individual. He's led a privileged life, and that's fine. But then again, his party on one hand mocks people like J.D. Vance because of his background, or Secretary Mullen because he was a plumber, but then want you to believe that they come from that same sort of culture and lifestyle. And you may wonder, well, why the contradiction? And it's because in their minds, that is the lower life form of existence, but they recognize that when they're running for office, they need the vote of those people, so they pretend to be like them. They don't have any respect for them. They think poorly of them. They demonstrate it all the time. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom sitting in front of that black audience, claiming that he wasn't that smart, telling a black audience that I'm just like you. I'm not that smart. I can hardly read. I mean, this is constantly on full display how little they think of the average person, but they know they have to get that vote. And so come election time, they run around and they cosplay you. They pretend like they're you. All of the stereotypes they have in their mind, whether it's Hillary Clinton thinking black people or, carry hot sauce in their purses all the time, or they can't read or get low SAT scores, as Gavin Newsom has said, or, you just go down the list of different ways that Democrats have tried to relate to different categories of people by downgrading their status to that low level. What is sad is how highly effective it proves to be. The Democrat Party has an extremely toxic relationship with its voters. It is the sort of relationship that if it were between like an actual couple, and you got the husband that treats the wife the way that the Democrat Party treats the voters, every one of the true friends of that wife would say, you need to get out. He gaslights you. He demeans you. He tells you that you can't make it without him, that no one else will ever love you the way that he does. He love bombs you whenever he wants something, like your vote, but then neglects you the rest of the time. And then if you complain or start to talk about leaving, tells you no one else will ever treat you the way that I do. It's like it is the perfect toxic relationship that anyone would tell someone they cared about, you got to get out of that. That is the relationship the Democrat Party has with its voters. Fox News had a story. Texas coach gets fiery, explicitive laden. Oh, I'm having a hard time there. I should just quit. Just exit out. Expletive laden.
There you go.
Halftime speech before Longhorns upset over Gonzaga. I don't follow this stuff. This is yeah, so it's a sporting thing, NCAA men's basketball. So apparently what happened was at halftime, the number 11 seed Texas was significantly behind the number 3 seed Gonzaga. And again, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And so at halftime, they go in and video, I suppose, I don't know if it leaked out or whatever, the coach just really rallying these guys up who were not expected to win this. And he told the team, here it is, the team who gets the most second shots in the second half will win. Again, I want to go back. You want to take it, or are you just going to say, we're going to say like, man, they seem to always go to the Sweet 16, saying happened to us. No. If you didn't take it, if you're going to be a team, we got to go get that ball more when we miss. It can't be one of those efforts. We could never get an offensive rebound against Gonzaga. Yes, we can. And now I'm just reading to you what it was that he said, but he is very fiery, yelling, and they turned it around, and it was an upset. And I just thought to myself, the analogy that I made earlier this week or last week about the Republican Party and its leadership, and can you imagine its leadership during halftime when you're down during a game, as opposed to something like this where they come in and tell you, well, now you got to, realistically, got to understand that historically where we are, that, we're not going to win, but we're going to just try to manage as best as we can. And when I saw this story, I thought this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's the difference between winners and losers. It's the difference between when you're facing almost certain defeat, being rallied by someone who is an actual leader versus the way that the Republican Party behaves when we're dealing with something like the SAVE Act, in which the leadership explains to us, well, now you just got to understand it's really hard and I'm just trying to set expectations. That's a loser attitude. Lembeck's next. I'm Nick Reed.